In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. The blessed month of Ramadan, a time eagerly awaited by every soul, is not merely a period marked on the calendar, but a season imbued with mercy, blessings, and joy for every Muslim. This month brings with it the promise of divine favor and spiritual renewal, and its arrival stirs in the hearts of believers an anticipation that is both intense and mysterious. There is much discussion and speculation about when the crescent of Ramadan will appear, when the first fast will be observed, and on what date Eid will be celebrated. In recent days, important news has emerged concerning the sighting of the Ramadan crescent that has captured global attention. People around the world now speak of this Ramadan as being unlike any other, a Ramadan that is set apart in its significance and in the manner in which its start has been surrounded by both hope and apprehension. There is even talk among some that this Ramadan may be the final one in our lifetime, while others remain uncertain as to what this heightened anticipation truly signifies. Alongside the deep spiritual implications of Ramadan, another subject of considerable debate has emerged from Saudi Arabia, a matter that has both surprised and unsettled many. Just before the arrival of this sacred month, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia issued a set of directives regarding the performance of Umrah for the pilgrims who intend to visit Mecca. These new regulations, which have now spread across the globe, are unlike any previous policies implemented in the kingdom. They have been introduced with the intention of managing the massive influx of pilgrims during Ramadan and ensuring that the sanctity and order of the holy sites are maintained. For those who plan to journey to the house of Allah during this blessed month, these rules are not optional but compulsory, and failure to comply will result in strict penalties. The Saudi authorities have made it very clear that if any violations occur, harsh measures will be taken against the offenders. This announcement has ignited intense debate and controversy among Muslims worldwide, as many wonder why such stringent regulations are now necessary. Before delving further into the details of these regulations, it is important to reflect on the inherent sanctity of Ramadan. This month is traditionally celebrated as a time when divine blessings and mercy descend in abundance. Every moment becomes an opportunity for supplication. Every act of worship carries immense reward, and every good deed is magnified. The arrival of Ramadan awakens in the hearts of believers an eagerness to seek forgiveness, to cleanse one's soul, and to strive for a closer relationship with Allah. The spiritual environment of Ramadan is one of both unity and personal reflection, where individuals set aside their worldly concerns to focus on matters of eternal significance. It is within this context that the new regulations by the Saudi government assume even greater importance, as they directly affect how millions of Muslims will experience their pilgrimage during a time when their hearts are already brimming with devotion. In recent communications, the Saudi authorities have explained that the introduction of these new policies was driven by several factors. Foremost among these is the overwhelming number of pilgrims who flock to the holy cities of Mecca and Medina during Ramadan. The sheer volume of people often arriving in tightly packed groups and moving in unison towards the holy sites has made it necessary to impose certain restrictions to prevent chaos and ensure safety. Among the key regulations is a strict prohibition on the use of mobile phones and other electronic devices within the boundaries of the Haram, including the Grand Mosque. Previously, it was common to see live video streams of the sacred premises broadcast on mobile devices and television channels during prayers and at iftar. However, the new rules expressly forbid the recording or live streaming of any footage in these areas, with the aim of preserving the sanctity and privacy of the place of worship. The authorities have warned that anyone found violating this rule will be subject to immediate arrest and severe punishment, an action that underscores the seriousness with which these measures are being enforced. This directive regarding electronic devices is not an isolated measure, but part of a broader policy initiative aimed at managing the flow of pilgrims and ensuring that the focus remains on spiritual worship rather than on digital display or social media engagement. The officials have argued that the unrestricted use of mobile devices in such a sacred environment detracts from the solemnity of the rituals and encourages behavior that is contrary to the spirit of humility and devotion expected in the presence of the Kaaba. By curbing the public display of electronic gadgets, the authorities hope to create an atmosphere where pilgrims can engage in prayer, reflection, and the sincere performance of their religious duties without distraction. Another significant element of the new regulations concerns the frequency with which an individual may perform Umrah during Ramadan. It has been announced that each pilgrim will be allowed to perform Umrah only once during the month. The rationale behind this rule is to ensure that every person who has come to fulfill this sacred duty is given a fair opportunity to complete their rituals without being crowded out by repeat visitors. This measure is designed to distribute access more equitably among the millions of hopeful pilgrims. In enforcing this rule, Saudi officials have indicated that a sophisticated electronic system will be used to track and monitor the entry of each individual into the haram. Once a person has completed their Umrah, they will not be permitted to re-enter for another performance during the same Ramadan period. This policy, though intended to manage the overwhelming demand, has sparked considerable discontent among some pilgrims who argue that it is overly restrictive and does not account for exceptional circumstances. In addition to these directives, the Saudi government has also issued guidance concerning the overall conduct of visitors during Ramadan. Pilgrims are being advised to observe a heightened level of decorum and to adhere strictly to the guidelines set forth by the authorities. This includes restrictions not only on the use of electronic devices and the frequency of Umrah, but also on other aspects of behavior that might disrupt the orderly conduct of religious activities. The officials have stated that these measures are not meant to diminish the spiritual experience of the pilgrims, but rather to protect the integrity of the holy sites and to ensure that every individual's right to worship is respected. They have pointed to previous incidents of overcrowding, which have led to serious accidents and even fatalities, as justification for the imposition of such strict controls. The fear is that, without these measures, the chaotic scenes that have occasionally marred previous pilgrimages might recur, jeopardizing both lives and the sanctity of the experience. The new policies have resonated differently among various segments of the Muslim community. Many appreciate the efforts of the Saudi authorities to maintain order and ensure safety, especially given the historical challenges associated with managing large crowds in sacred spaces. They view these regulations as a necessary response to the logistical and humanitarian challenges posed by an ever-growing number of pilgrims, particularly during a month when emotions and expectations run high. On the other hand, there are those who see these measures as an infringement on the personal spiritual experience of the pilgrim. Critics argue that the restrictions, especially those concerning the use of mobile phones and live streaming, represent a departure from the traditions of open and communal worship that have long characterized the holy sites. They contend that in an age where technology can help bring people closer together and share the beauty of the sacred rituals with a global audience, such prohibitions are counterproductive and overly authoritarian. Some even question whether these measures will truly enhance the spiritual atmosphere or instead serve to alienate a generation that is increasingly connected through digital media. The debate over these new regulations is further complicated by the broader context in which they have been introduced. In recent years, Saudi Arabia has embarked on an ambitious program of economic and social reforms aimed at modernizing the kingdom and diversifying its economy. As part of this Vision 2030 initiative, there has been a significant emphasis on developing infrastructure and promoting tourism, including religious tourism. The new Umrah regulations, therefore, must be understood not only as responses to immediate logistical challenges, but also as part of a larger strategy to reposition the kingdom on the global stage. The authorities are keen to showcase a model of religious management that balances tradition with modernity, ensuring that the needs of millions of pilgrims are met while also protecting the heritage and sanctity of the holy sites. Whether these policies will ultimately be successful remains to be seen, but they have undoubtedly ignited a spirited discussion among Muslims around the world about the nature of religious observance in the modern era. Amid these administrative and technological measures, the spiritual significance of Ramadan continues to loom large. For countless Muslims, Ramadan is a time when the barriers between the earthly and the divine seem to dissolve, when every act of worship is imbued with the potential for transcendence. It is a month when the faithful are reminded of the fragility of life, the importance of compassion, and the promise of redemption. The anticipation surrounding the sighting of the Ramadan crescent is more than just an astronomical event. It is a symbol of hope, a beacon that signals the beginning of a period of intense spiritual revival. In this spirit of renewal, many turn to specific practices and supplications that have been handed down through generations, one of which involves the recitation of Surah Al-Kawthar. This brief surah, despite its brevity, carries a message of abundance and divine favor, serving as a powerful reminder that Allah's blessings are limitless and that every sincere prayer is heard. As pilgrims prepare to embark on their journey to the holy cities, they are advised to remain focused on the spiritual objectives of their visit. The new regulations, while imposing certain restrictions, are ultimately designed to ensure that the experience of worship in the house of Allah remains sacred and undisturbed by the distractions of modern life. The emphasis is on fostering an environment where individuals can reconnect with their Creator in an atmosphere of humility and reverence. In doing so, the authorities hope that every pilgrim will leave Mecca not only with the fulfillment of their religious duties, but also with a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper commitment to the values of Islam. Throughout these developments, one cannot help but notice the interplay between tradition and innovation, between the timeless demands of faith and the pressing needs of a modern, interconnected world. The restrictions on mobile devices and the limitation on multiple Umrahs are emblematic of this tension. They represent an effort to reclaim the sanctity of the sacred spaces by curbing behaviors that are seen as symptomatic of a culture overly focused on digital connectivity and personal gratification. In doing so, the Saudi authorities are asserting that some aspects of religious life must remain untouched by the influences of the modern world, preserving a purity that is essential for true worship. At the same time, the implementation of these regulations has not been without controversy or criticism. Many argue that the policies are too draconian and fail to take into account the evolving nature of communication and the importance of sharing spiritual experiences with a wider audience. There is a concern that in the process of enforcing these measures, the very essence of the pilgrim's journey, an experience that has the power to transform hearts and minds, might be compromised. Yet others maintain that in times of unprecedented crowd sizes and potential safety hazards, such measures are not only justified, but necessary. They point to past incidents of overcrowding and tragic accidents as stark reminders of the risks involved when millions of people converge on a single sacred space without proper regulation. In the end, the unfolding of events during this Ramadan will be closely watched by Muslims around the world. The new Umrah policies, combined with the heightened spiritual fervor that characterizes this blessed month, have created an atmosphere of both anticipation and apprehension. For many, the opportunity to perform Umrah during Ramadan is the pinnacle of spiritual aspiration, a chance to receive a reward equivalent to that of Hajj, as has been affirmed by various traditions and narrations. The prospect of experiencing such an exalted state of worship, however, comes with its own set of challenges, as pilgrims must navigate not only the physical demands of the journey, but also the strict regulations imposed by the authorities. As the holy month approaches, the hearts of believers are filled with a complex mix of hope, reverence, and a touch of uncertainty. Will the new regulations preserve the sanctity of the holy sites and ensure the safety and dignity of every pilgrim? Can the balance between modern technological advancements and traditional modes of worship be maintained without compromising the spirit of Ramadan? These questions remain open, inviting reflection and discussion among scholars, pilgrims, and everyday worshipers alike. What is clear, however, is that this Ramadan, marked by unprecedented changes and rigorous new rules, promises to be a period of intense spiritual trial and transformation. In this delicate balance of regulation and devotion, every action taken, every precaution observed, and every prayer uttered carries immense significance. The directives from Saudi Arabia, though met with mixed reactions, underscore the commitment of the authorities to preserve the integrity of the sacred journey to the house of Allah. For those who have traveled great distances to offer their worship and seek divine mercy, these rules are a reminder that the path to spiritual fulfillment is not without its trials. Yet it is in overcoming these challenges that true faith is tested and strengthened. As pilgrims prepare to step into the hallowed precincts of the holy sites, they do so with the hope that despite the restrictions, their hearts will find solace, their prayers will be answered, and their journey will ultimately lead them closer to Allah. May this Ramadan be a time when every Muslim finds strength in their faith, clarity in their purpose, and a renewed commitment to the values that unite us all. May the challenges that arise serve only to deepen our reliance on the one who is the source of all mercy and compassion, And may the experience of Umrah during this sacred month be remembered not for its restrictions, but for the transformative power of sincere worship in devotion. Ameen.